Welcome to the Good Reading Podcast, proudly sponsored by Book People Gift Cards. A Book People gift card is the perfect gift for readers of all ages. Simply order your gift card online at bookpeoplegiftcards.org.au. Redeem at any one of over 500 bookshops across Australia. Visit bookpeoplegiftcards.org.au. Kathy Lette first achieved success as a teenager with Puberty Blues, which was made into a major film and a TV miniseries. Since then, Kathy has written 20 books, which have been translated into 19 languages. Kathy is also a TV presenter, newspaper and magazine columnist, and an ambassador for the National Autistic Society and Ambitious About Autism. Today, I'm talking to Kathy Lette about her latest novel, The Revenge Club. Kathy Lette, welcome to the Good Reading Podcast.
Hello, how great to be here. I'm staying at my mum's house down at Cronulla, down in Sylvania, which is where I grew up, which is where Puberty Blues was written. So the scene of the crime around me.
Let's start with this. Many lounge room philosophers espouse the idea that the best revenge is in living well and leading a happy and fulfilling life. But that's not the case for the Revenge Club.
No. Well, as a writer, actually, I've only ever written for revenge because you can impale an enemy on the end of your pen like a human shish kebab. And, I think poetic justice is the only true justice in the world. And I say that having been married to a lawyer for 28 years. So a lot of writers say, oh, I write for the artistic release and the cathartic experience. No, I write just for revenge. Excuse me. It's all that cocaine I did earlier. Ha ha. I'm just. And I think women are particularly drawn to revenge because it's sweet but totally non-fattening. So, what's not to love?
And no blood is drawn either, I suppose.
Sometimes. A few spatterings.
Now, let's get into the story. Matilda Devine. She picks up the story and is our narrator.
Yeah.
Matilda was once married to Lockie, an aspiring poet, now basically a grifter. She's got two children, Melody, who's on the spectrum, and Charlie. I love this, what you say about Charlie, a university underachiever who thinks Hollandaise is the language of the Netherlands. Where are we in the life of Matilda?
Well, I always like to make my protagonist Australian if I can, because on the international stage, I really like to big up Australian women because I think Australian women are the world's best kept secret. Funny, fiercely loyal, fabulous friends. I mean, just frank, just the best friends you could ever have. My Australian women friends are my human wonder bras, uplifting, supportive, and making me look bigger and better. So Matilda is a Rhodes Scholar. So she went to Oxford, and you have to have a sport if you're a Rhodes Scholar, and her sport was surf lifesaving, which they'd never had one of those before. But she's sort of romantically things didn't really work out for her, and she's got two children she's raising single-handedly. So she relies on the fact that she's a best-selling author. But of course, when she comes to writing her, whatever it is, her 15th book or something, her publisher tells her that her premise, which was a book about middle-aged women, the adventures of middle-aged women, he doesn't want to publish it because middle-aged women just aren't sexy, and that she's past her amuse-by date. So suddenly she has no income and she's in a perilous state. So we meet her at a time when she's vulnerable and lost her confidence, but she's also funny. She's got what I call the black belt in tongue fu. She can fire off a one-liner, give a bit of quiplash. So she takes us through the story because if my aim as a writer is always to elucidate and sort of have a feminist message and empower women, but also to entertain, because the world is such a dark place right now. We need every laugh we can get, and laughter is definitely the best medicine. It's the only medicine we've got on the political world stage right now. So I do try and ensure that my readers have a really good time, as well as, just feeling a little bit supported. I like to be their human wonder bra, uplifting and supportive, and just reveal to them just how wonderful they are. So the setup of the book is that these are four friends who met at university, and they haven't seen each other for 30 years. So obviously there was a falling out. We don't know why. That's planted for later in the book, of course. But one of them has been working in LA in special effects, in the movie industry, and she's Jo, and she's coming back to London for the first time in 30 years, and she organizes a reunion. So there were three other women come to meet her, and they're a bit trepidatious at first because there was this falling out. None of them couldn't quite remember what it was really about. They were in a band. The band broke up. Was it to do with that?
I love the name of the band, the Loosh Women.
Loose Women. Yes, because there's a show on British television called Loose Women, which I've never liked that title, but Loose Women I think is much better. So they meet, and immediately they pick up where they left off, the way women do. They're cackling like kookaburras. They're having a really good catch up, and they're waiting for their friend from LA. And then this man comes and sits at their table, and they're like, "I'm sorry, we're waiting for a friend. You can't sit there." And he's like, "Well, I know you're waiting for Jo Logan," and they're really suspicious. They're like, "Well, how do you know that?" And he's like, "Well, I'm Jo." And they're so shocked. They think, has she transitioned? And then she goes on to explain to them that she was working in special effects in Hollywood, and she got the sack for the crime of being a menopausal hot mess. And she was so angry, she went home and transformed herself into a man using her special effects techniques. And she went back to the same company, sort of as a hoax, just to prove how sexist they are. Not only did she get a job, she got a promotion and a pay rise. And she's like, wait a minute, in a man's world, it's just so much easier to be a man. So she decides to sort of keep living this double life, like Mr. Doubtfire, I suppose. And her friends are like, you're wrong. There's never been a better time to be a woman. Feminism's achieved so much, etc. In the next week, something cataclysmic happens to the other three women, to Matilda, Cressida, and Penny. And when they meet a week later, they're like, you are so right. It is still a man's world. And that's when they form the Revenge Club. But of course, now they've got a secret weapon because Jo can get into the men's room. So that's when the fun begins. And you asked me what the cataclysmic thing that happened to the actress, to Cressida. She had a high-flying career. She was, as an actress, she was starting to make big movies, and then she gave it all up to raise her four daughters. She had four daughters, and as a lot of women do, gave up her career to become a domestic engineer, I like to call it, or the president of in-home pedagogy. But now that she's an empty nester, she thinks, I'm going back to work, and there's so many wonderful female directors now I can work with, etc. She goes to see her agent, her new agent, as her old agent's retired, and the only job on offer is an ad for vaginal dryness or perhaps incontinence pads because of her age. So she's reeling from the shock of that. Then she discovers her husband is unfaithful. And then the next character, Penny, is a foreign war correspondent. She's had a really dynamic career, and she now hosts a lunchtime political program with her co-host. And they're going prime time. They're going onto the big time at night. And then she discovers that even though she's the serious journalist, she's not going, just her handsome 50-year-old co-host, because she committed the crime of putting a picture of herself on Instagram with a bit of grey hair and no makeup, which is considered a terrible faux pas in the televisual world. So she is also sidelined. And then Matilda, as we mentioned earlier, her book's not going to be published. So they all find themselves put out to career pasture. And the reason I wanted to write this book is that I can see this happening to my friends around me, that once they hit the menopause, when they're no longer considered, fecund, they're just cast aside. And to me, it's crazy. I think women only come into their prime post-menopause. And yet, society is just abandoning us. They're handing us the cloak of invisibility. And my question is, are we going to use that cloak for good or for evil? I'm thinking evil. And it's not just me imagining that society hands women a cloak of invisibility. Recently, MI5, the spying agency in Britain, announced that they want to recruit middle-aged women because nobody sees us. So I'm on a huge campaign to say to women, you can have a sensational second act. Go forth and be fabulous, because this is going to be the best time of your life, when the kids have left home, when you're through the menopause, and when you can cut the psychological umbilical cord that's kept you tethered to the kitchen by your heart and your apron strings. you do have this fabulous moment where you can put yourself first for the first time in your life. And it's so liberating.
Now let's talk about Joe. And now we're talking about Joe with an E. Joe's got this plan for taking control back, exacting revenge, as the title says. And Joe evokes the Celtic goddess of revenge, the Morrigan.
That's right. She adopts that surname as a code. Yeah. So then let the fun ensue. And it's the way I styled the revenge, it's very female revenge. It's very tangible. It's very relatable. So they pick the trait of each man that is his foible, and that's what they work towards. That's like his Achilles heel. So with the television presenter the male who's backstabbed his co-host Penny, he's very vain. So that's what they decide to how they decide to attack him. So Joe joins his gym and befriends him because she's very athletic and joins his tennis doubles and whatever. But then her mission is to get hold of his shampoo bottle and tip it out and fill it up with Nair hair remover, and to take his face cream and throw it out and replace it with Retin A cream, which is an acidic cream women use very sparingly to get rid of wrinkles. And he's going to be slathering it on. So pretty soon his hair starts falling out, his face starts peeling off. He doesn't know why. And they watch him sort of deteriorating slowly on television. And that's a really joyous revenge. And on Jeremy, the human rights lawyer, his whole thing is his reputation. He wants to become a high court judge. They decide to drug him and take compromising snaps of him to ruin his reputation. So, and that's a great fun scene as well. And with the publisher, what Matilda does, she discovers that he didn't even read her new manuscript. He just dismissed it because it was domestic noir and it was featuring women of a certain age. And he just says that's not sexy. So all she does is simply submit the novel under a male pseudonym, Joe Morrigan. And of course, he loves the book. It's published with great fanfare, and it gets all these wonderful reviews and great accolades. So I'm also making the point there how women writers, especially my age, are sidelined, dismissed, overlooked, patronized, whereas, the men are lauded. For example, men who write first-person funny fiction, like Nick Hornby, they get compared to Chekhov, whereas we get Chikoff. We get a pink cover with a cupcake on it, and we just get dismissed. I hate the term chick lit, even though I kind of invented it. I mean, my books anyway were put in that category. Things like Puberty Blues, Girls' Night Out, Lama Parla. I mean, I've written 20 books, and I started writing in the late 70s, in my teens. So I think I kind of kickstarted that genre. And then I wrote, of course, Fetal Attraction, Mad Cows, which kickstarted Mummy Lit. I mean, nobody was writing books at that time that took the idea that motherhood's the ultimate fulfillment for a female, that great sacred cow, and whacked it on the old barbecue. So, and then I kickstarted Nip Lit, when I wrote Nip and Tuck. Books that are satirizing cosmetic surgery, etc. So I thought, well, what's our new genre going to be for women my age? I mean, I'm 65 now, and I'm writing about women who are 50 plus. I thought, well, this lovely thing happens as you get older, but when you get to be 50, can I swear on this podcast? Okay. I was going to say, when you turn 50, this fantastic thing happens where you get a kind of, oh, fuck it, I'm 50 gene. So I thought we need a genre that reflects that, where women my age are, they're conquering the world and having adventures. Because whenever I do read books that star a protagonist my age, they're usually wilting away with loneliness in some flat. They die of despair and get eaten by their cats. No dog walker can walk through a park, a forest, or a woodland without stubbing her toe on the corpse of a woman who needed her comeuppance because she was a nag or whatever. So, and I don't know any women like that. All my female friends are swinging off the chandelier with a toy boy between their teeth. They're taking on the world. They're climbing the Himalayas and they're going up the Himalayas and down the Amazon. So I thought what we need is a new genre that reflects that, which I thought the greatest title would be I don't give a shit lit.
I read that a couple of
It's
times.
good, isn't it?
Don't talk about this book unless we talk about the M word, menopause.
Yeah, well, oh gosh, I think for women, life is in two acts. And the trick is surviving the interval, which is the menopause, which is awful. I mean, you're the brain fog. I remember one day I rang my sister on my mobile phone and I'm going, I can't find my phone. I can't find my phone. I'm lost without my phone. Where is it? Where is it? And she goes, Kath, what do you think you're calling me on? So the brain fog and then the hot sweats. I mean, you sweat more than Donald Trump doing a Sudoku. Your mood swings. I mean, it's just more proof that God is a bloke, basically. But I mean, I would recommend all women to get a blood test and see where their hormone levels are and get on the HRT, which is rocket fuel for women. It just brings you back to how you used to feel. So, and in evolutionary terms, the menopause is a new phenomenon because, until a few centuries ago, we're all dead at like 32 or something. So it is quite a new phenomenon. So I'm all for HRT. But on the other side of the menopause, whether you take HRT or not, when things calm down hormonally, it is, as I said earlier, the best time of your life because no period cramps, no pregnancy scares, you've got all that tampon money to spend. And also, this wonderful thing happens to women where your estrogen drops down, which is your caring and sharing hormone, and your testosterone comes up a little bit. So you get a little bit more bolshy, a little bit more selfish, a little bit more like a bloke, basically. And as I said, you can put yourself first for the first time in your life and not feel guilty about it. Don't let your guilt gland throb because mothers are always the runners up in the human race. We take the burnt chop. We never get the window seat at the plane. I mean, first world problems, but you know what I mean. Our birthday comes below the hamster and the dog's birthday. So it's quite a unique experience to be a little bit selfish. And also women are brought up to be decorative and demure. All the research shows that when a man and woman start talking at the same time, the woman always pulls back. But because of this, oh, fuck it, I'm 50 gene, you suddenly just don't care what people think about you. And I cannot tell you how liberating it is for women. And I think women become their true selves post-menopause when we're no longer so viciously and vehemently in the male gaze, and we've got more time to spend on ourselves and spend with our girlfriends, which is always so life affirming and fun and fabulous. And so, yeah, I think that's when you really discover who you are. And they're the women I want to write about. Because this happened, it happened to me in England with this is a real story that after having written 19 books published in 18 languages, when I took this idea about 4 women having revenge on on sexist ageism and the chauvinists who'd ruined their careers, my agent, who was pale male stale, said, oh, nobody wants to read about middle-aged women. They're not sexy. And then my publisher dropped me. And I went through a crisis of confidence thinking, well, maybe I have passed my amuse-by date. But then, of course, being a feisty Aussie gal, I didn't give up. I just got a new agent, a gorgeous gay love god, who immediately understood what I was talking about. And I got a 2-book deal with Bloomsbury that day. And I've rebooted my whole career in Britain. But it is this sexist ageism is serious, and it's something that we have to address. We've started to take my generation to have sort of taken the stigma out of menopause, but the next huge battle we have is this idea of us being put out to career pasture. And you see it especially in the television industry. 85% of people on Australian and British television over 50 are men. So we never see women on television our age unless they've had a lot of cosmetic surgery. And I'm against cosmetic surgery. My mother told me never to pick my nose, especially from a catalogue. Whatever. So it is a huge battle and one that I'm fighting yeah, through wit and quips and humor, whatever.
I've only got one more question for you, Kathy. You co-wrote Puberty Blues as a teenager. That was then a book for the ages. Is The Revenge Club a book for this age?
Well, it seems to be proving that way. I'm thrilled because It's funny that my whole literary career is bookended by my hormones. The first book is puberty blues, and the last group of books are going to be sort of menopause blues. But it's just got a really good review in England. It's calling it a tonic for our times. And I think if I've any gift at all, it's putting into words what women are thinking, but might not necessarily have the chutzpah to say out loud. And also writing down the way women talk when there's no men around. And this book, it's been on the bestseller list in Australia for like 7 weeks already. And I think it is really striking a chord with women where they're just saying, I will not be silenced. I will not be shrouded in the cloak of invisibility. I want to go forth and be fabulous.
Kathy, it's been wonderful to talk to you. And thanks so much for joining me on the Good Reading Podcast.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. And you're very good at girl talk.
Thank you, Kathy.
You're very good. You'll be lactating in a few minutes.
I've been talking to Kathy Lette about her latest novel, The Revenge Club. It's published by Bloomsbury, and you can find it at goodreadingmagazine.com.au. My name's Greg Dobbs, and thanks for listening. This Good Reading Podcast was brought to you by Book People Gift Cards. Share the joy of reading with a Book People gift card. To find out more, visit bookpeoplegiftcards.org.au.